Alrighty. So, beginning in a comfortable seated position, I'm going to be using a blanket just to cushion my knees for part of today's practice. And I invite you to have something handy if you tend to have tender knees, also, maybe a towel or anything that's nearby. Let's begin by just taking a deep breath in and letting it go, allowing the eyes to softly close, drawing the spine up long, beginning to come into this moment, into this body, giving ourselves permission to be present for the next little bit of time as we practice here together. Feeling the hands, feeling the feet, feeling the contact between the seat, the feet, and the earth. Really sensing into that grounding sensation of the body being held up in time and space, held up by the earth. Taking a moment to just notice any areas of tension in the body, relaxing the brow, relaxing the jaw, softening the shoulders down and back away from the ears, softening the heart and the belly, relaxing the back and the glutes. Sending your loving awareness to any parts of the body that are calling for your attention right now. Perhaps breathing deeply into those areas. And on the exhale, inviting something to release, to move out of you, to be recycled, composted into a new form of energy. And taking just a moment to set your intention for today's practice. The intention I want to bring into the space today is finding a sense of gratitude for my body throughout the practice. Meeting my body with gratitude exactly where it is today. And if at any time you feel overly stimulated, your nervous system is overly activated, you're feeling pain, please back away from your edge in the practice, in the posture, perhaps even returning to a safe posture that feels neutral, like this one. And let's just take a moment to connect with the heart center, placing both hands over the heart, feeling the warmth of the hands on the body, feeling the heart center soften beneath the warmth, the loving touch of your own hands, and noticing if it's possible to soften the heart just a bit on each exhale here for a moment. And returning the hands to a comfortable position, perhaps on the legs. Taking a deep breath in, letting it go, and blinking the eyes open. And let's begin our practice. So let's just start with a little warm up for the shoulders, rolling them up and back a few times, loosening through the shoulders and the upper back. And when you finish that circle, let's reverse the direction of these circles. Really letting something go out of the shoulders. And coming back to center, let's warm up the neck a bit, dropping chin to the chest and just taking a few very gentle neck circles here. Side to side. Not forcing anything, just working within the range of motion that feels good and supportive for your body today. And coming through center, let's walk the left fingertips out to the side, drop that right ear to the right shoulder. You might even bring right hand to the top of the head, offering a little bit of extra opening through that neck. Breathing into the side of the neck and the shoulder. Sensing into gratitude for this neck that holds up the ever-important head throughout our days. And releasing that posture. Let's walk the right fingertips out now. Drop the left ear to left shoulder. Perhaps taking the left hand to the side of the head and just offering a little bit of extra opening, a little extra love here to the sweet neck. Breathing deeply into the side of the neck. Thank you, neck. Connecting with the sensation that's here for you right now. And releasing that, bringing head back up through the center. Let's just roll the wrists out a few times. We won't be doing too much wrist work today, but always good to give them a little love. Maybe clasping the fingers and giving yourself a little figure 8. This can really help open up through that carpal tunnel area, and maybe reversing directions here. And releasing that. Taking a deep breath in, drawing the spine up long, and inhaling, arms up above the head. If it feels comfortable, you might interlace the fingers and press those palms up toward the sky, growing very long through the spine. Perhaps taking a few side bends, one side and then the other, continuing to warm up the spine, continuing to open up through the shoulders, opening up through the heart here, and coming back to center, spine long, arms reach up, and let's curl the spine forward, reaching forward with the arms, the hands, tucking the chin to the chest, finding a nice opening in the upper back here, and coming back up through center. And let's release the hands, making cactus arms, taking a slight back bend, looking up toward the sky, really opening up through that heart here. Gentle but powerful, connecting with the heart. And sweeping the arms up and allowing the hands to drop to the legs, to the knees, or wherever they feel good. All right, let's do a little bit more spine work here. So in the seated position, we're just going to take a few cat-cow stretches. So opening the chest forward, arching the back, looking up toward the sky, and then really tucking the tail, tucking the chin, finding that cat posture in this seated position, and inhaling to cow, seated cow, and exhaling to cat. Running through a few more rounds of this cat-cow at your own pace. Really sensing into the sensations of the upper back and the heart center here. And after your next round is over, coming back to a comfortable seated position. Let's take the left hand now to the right knee. Take that right hand just behind you, tenting the fingertips a bit, and gently turn to look over the right shoulder. Taking our first very gentle twist for today's practice. And coming back through center. Let's take the right hand now to the left knee. Take that left hand just behind us and gently, gently turn to look over the left shoulder. Continuing to open up through the spine, awaken the spine. And coming back through center. Taking a deep breath in here. And letting it go. Taking a moment to notice the sensations of the body. And especially to notice the quality of feeling in the heart center and the upper back. Does it feel sticky? Does it feel open, achy, scrunchy? Just noticing the quality of sensation in this area of the body. And now, let's bring our feet to touch in front of us for a seated bound angle. The feet can be quite far out in front, or you can walk those heels in as close as is comfortable to the seat. Letting the knees fall open. And let's just take a moment to give ourselves a little bit of self-love here. So taking the thumbs and just giving yourself a little foot massage, really getting into the arches of those feet. Showing these feet a little love. These feet that carry us throughout our lives, hold us up. Maybe rubbing out the toes a little bit, just taking a moment here to connect with a little gratitude for these sweet feet. And then releasing this self-massage, holding the ankles or perhaps around the feet if that's available and comfortable for you. Drawing the spine up long and beginning to hinge forward at the hips, only coming down as far as is comfortable for your body today, in this moment. Thinking about bringing the heart toward the toes. That helps us keep the low spine long rather than collapsing into it. Breathing here, breathing into the hips, into the inner thighs, into the low back. And then walking the fingers forward and allowing yourself to just melt over just a little bit here. Breathing into that upper back, releasing the head and the neck. And then walking the fingers over to the left, just taking a little bit of side body opening here, perhaps walking that right hand forward a little more to find sensation in the right shoulder, right side body. And walking through center, taking a moment here to reset, and then walking hands over to the right side, perhaps really walking those left fingertips forward this time to find that sensation of opening, stretching in the left shoulder, the left side body. And coming back through center, rolling up through the spine, one vertebra at a time, and coming back to seated. Let's take our hands and place them behind us on the mat and place our feet about hip width or maybe a little bit wider, flat on the floor. And we'll just take a moment to windshield wipe the legs from side to side here, continuing to warm up through the hips, the glutes, the low back, and then coming back through center. Stretching the legs out long in front of you now. Let's grow long and strong in our staff pose. So legs reach forward, toes or the toe mounds can touch here. Really flexing through the feet, engaging through the thighs. Perhaps hands come to the mat beside you to assist in drawing the spine up very, very long toward the sky. Breathing deeply in here and out. And now let's, keeping a straight back, begin walking our fingers forward toward seated forward fold. Perhaps hands come to the ankles or to the floor or to the feet. Keeping the spine long, hinging forward at the hips, and gently breathing into a forward fold. In yoga, we think of forward folds as being very calming for the nervous system and for the mind. Allowing a moment to settle here. Nowhere to be, nowhere to go. Connecting with your body in this moment. Thank you, body, for being here to support my practice. Breathing deeply in, and on the exhale, beginning to walk back up. And let's now take the right leg out to the side and tuck that left leg in, finding a position that feels good for you. No need to tuck it all the way in if that doesn't feel nice. And let's take a moment to turn and square our chest towards that right foot before walking the hands forward to or towards that foot for head to knee pose. Hinging at the hips, drawing the heart toward the knee, toward the toes. Breathing into that left side body, that left hip, into the right hamstring. Taking a moment to really notice the sensations of your body today, in this moment, in this practice. And walking the hands back up, coming back up to sit. Let's walk those left fingertips out and sweep the right arm up and over for a little side opener here on the right side. Reaching through those right fingertips, perhaps reaching through the right toes as well. And now, coming back toward those toes, reaching toward the toes or the ankle with the right hand, sweeping left arm up and over now. And if it feels good on your neck, you might turn to look up toward the sky, up toward that elbow. Finding an even deeper side stretch here in revolved head to knee pose. Breathing deeply in, breathing out, allowing the fullness of sensation to be in your awareness. And inhaling, coming back up to sit. Let's stretch those legs back out in front of us. Once more, engaging through the thighs, engaging through the feet, drawing the spine up long, walking the hands forward for a nice forward fold. Sensing into the difference in sensation between the two sides of the body now. And walking the hands back up to seated. Let's take now the left leg wide, tucking that right foot in to or towards the thigh. Inhaling, drawing the spine up long, turning to square the chest toward that left foot, and beginning to walk the hands forward on the floor, perhaps on the ankle, perhaps toward the foot, only going as far as feels good in your body today. Forgiving yourself, your body, for those differences, those challenges from side to side. Breathing deeply in and out. Connecting with sensation in the right side body here, in the left hamstring. And walking back up to seated. Let's walk those right fingertips out now. Sweep the left arm up and over. And just find a nice opening through the left side body. Perhaps pointing and reaching through those left toes as well. And coming back up and over. Reaching now to or towards that left foot with the left arm. Sweeping right arm up and over, reaching toward the left toes. If it feels good on the neck, turning to look at the sky toward that elbow. Really opening the heart forward here in revolved head to knee pose. Noticing the difference between the first side and the second side. Breathing deeply into that side body as it opens. And sweeping the arm up and over, coming back to seated. And one last time, let's stretch those feet out in front of us. Finding staff pose. And taking one more forward fold, just briefly. Helping to center, reset, elongate the spine after those side bends. Coming back up to seated, let's step that right foot in so that it sits on the mat pretty close to that left knee, and hugging the right knee with the left hand, placing right hand behind us, taking a moment to just gently twist here. And stretching that right foot back out long, stepping the left foot in, reaching to grasp the left knee with the right hand. Left hand comes behind, and then gently looking to twist over that left shoulder. And releasing this. Placing hands behind you on the mat, stepping the feet in so that they're flat on the mat, about hip width or maybe a little bit wider, and then lifting the hips up toward the sky. Chest opens toward the sky, head can fall down and back for reverse table. And bringing this bottom back down to the mat. Let's find our way to tabletop position from here. I'm going to use my blanket to cushion my knees. Just a little extra padding today. Finding a strong table, hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips, navel drawn into the spine, arms are strong, tip of the head and the tail reach away from each other, creating a nice long line in the spine here. And let's take a few rounds of cat-cow on hands and knees. So inhaling, tipping the tail up, opening the heart forward, looking up, and exhaling, arching the spine, tucking tail, tucking chin. Inhaling cow, exhaling cat. Inhaling cow, exhaling cat. And coming back through center, turning to look over the left shoulder, bringing the left hip toward the left shoulder, finding a little opening in the right side body here. And turning to look over the right shoulder. Right hip comes toward right shoulder, breathing into the left side body. And coming back through center. Let's go side to side just a few times here. On your own pace, your own rhythm. Continuing to find that opening through the side body before returning to center. Let's step now the right foot between the hands, allowing the weight to fall above, just in front of that left knee to protect the kneecap, allowing the hips to be heavy here in low lunge. Breathing deeply into the hips as they begin to open up. Breathing into the hips. And now planting the left hand on the mat, drawing that right arm up to the sky, finding a nice twist here in your low lunge. Continuing to breathe into the hips. Right hand comes back to the mat. And now let's walk that right foot out. Hands come inside the foot, and we can allow the knee to drop open for lizard here. And you might stay up on the hands. If you're feeling very open, you can always come down a little bit, finding your way to the forearms, breathing deeply into the hips here, allowing something to go, something to be released. Perhaps connecting back to that gratitude for the body, especially these hips that hold so much. And if you're not already there, pressing back up to the hands and stepping that right foot back to table. And we'll take that same sequence now on the other side. So stepping left foot between the hands, finding that sweet spot where the weight falls above the kneecap on the right leg, and allowing the hips to be quite heavy here. Really breathing into those hips as they begin to release, begin to open a bit. And planting the right hand on the mat, sweeping that left arm up, reaching for the sky. Continuing to breathe into the hips as they open here in this twist. And bringing that left hand back down to the mat, walking the left foot out to the edge of the mat. Both hands come inside and allowing that left knee to drop open. Breathing into the hips here, keeping that left foot flexed and engaged to protect the knee. You might stay up, or if you're feeling especially spacious in those hips, you might drop to the forearms. Continuing to breathe deeply into the hips. Perhaps finding something new to be grateful for. Connecting with gratitude for these hips that carry us through so much. Providing stability, mobility. And if you're not already there, pressing up onto both hands. Let's step that left foot back to meet the right so that we're back in our tabletop position. Taking a moment here to just connect with the body, connect with the breath. Feel into the sensations that are present for us in this moment. And now stepping the left toes back, reaching the right fingertips forward. Inhaling, perhaps reaching forward with the fingertips, floating the left toes off the mat. Breathing here in balancing table, finding length in the spine as the toes and the fingers draw away from each other. And returning to tabletop, pausing for a moment, breathing in, breathing out. Stepping the right toes back now, reaching forward with those right fingers. Inhaling, fingers and toes off the mat if that feels good. Finding length, drawing the fingers and the toes away from each other. One long, strong line of energy through the body. And coming back through table. And we'll take balancing table once more on each side with the option to connect hand and foot for a half floor bow. So do whatever feels good for you, either finding that balancing table, stretching right hand, left foot away from each other. You might stay here, or if it feels good, you can try bending the back foot or the back knee and sweeping that right arm up and back to connect with the left foot. Perhaps even turning to look over the shoulder at your toes. And releasing this, coming back to table, pausing for a moment in the middle before coming back to balancing table on the other side. So right toes reach back, left fingertips reach forward. You might stay here, or you might bend that right knee, sweep the left fingers up and back to connect with those toes. Perhaps even turning to look over the left shoulder. And coming back through center, finding table once more. And let's just do a few cat-cows here to loosen the spine up. Taking a few rounds of cat-cow on your own breath cycle, your own rhythm. Before returning to table. And now I'm going to remove my blanket and I'm going to come to a modified plank on my knees, arms strong, core engaged, legs and glutes engaged, before gently lowering onto the belly. Hands under the shoulders, pressing the tops of the feet into the mat, and on an inhale, gently raising the chest off the ground for cobra. Breathing here, feeling the strength of the back, and exhaling, forehead to the floor. Once more inhaling up to cobra, perhaps floating the fingertips off the mat to make sure we're using our back muscles and not the strength of our arms. And exhaling, forehead back to the mat. And now, reaching hands alongside the body, or if it feels good, you can clasp the fingers together and pull the hands away from the lower back, creating more of an opening in the chest and upper back. And on the next inhale, we will float the feet, chest, head, arms away from the mat, really engaging that strong back body in locust. And exhaling back down to the mat, resting here for a moment. Breathing in, breathing out, connecting with the sensations of the body, perhaps connecting with gratitude for this strong back that holds us up. Let's do that one more time with the option to take floor bow instead of locust if you choose, if that's part of your practice or if you want to make it part of your practice. So if you're going to stick with locust, again, we'll reach the arms back or clasp the hands and float chest, head, and legs off of the mat. And if you would like to progress this posture a bit, you can bend both knees and begin reaching to or towards the ankles or the feet, and begin to kick into your hands to create this floor bow shape, really engaging through the muscles of the back. Breathing in, breathing out, and releasing this posture, allowing the forehead to come to the mat and just shaking out the legs a little bit here. And now pressing back up to table, keeping those hips over the knees. Let's walk hands forward for puppy pose. Bringing forehead to or towards the mat, stretching those arms forward, really finding a nice opening through the upper back, the armpits, the shoulders. And now setting the hips back toward the heels. Knees can come as wide as you need them to. Stretching the hands forward. Resting in child's pose for just a moment. Coming back to plank. Perhaps lifting up into a full plank. And then stepping the left foot forward, stepping the right foot forward, and finding a forward fold. Perhaps swaying from side to side. Inhaling, finding a halfway lift, spine is long. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, sweeping arms up to the sky. And exhaling, hands to the heart. Alrighty. So, let's now take the right foot and step it over the left foot so that your toe mounds, your pinky toes, start to come to or towards each other. Sweeping the arms up over the head. Let's grasp the left wrist with right hand and reach up and over. Finding an opening through the hip, through the side body. And let's switch our grip, grasping the right wrist now and reaching up and over to the other side. Coming back through center and gently rolling down to find a forward fold with this cross-leg position. You might find that this is a bit of an intense stretch through the IT band on the left leg, perhaps particularly intense on the hamstring. So just coming to a level that feels good for your body and allowing the opening to happen without resistance. And let's roll up one vertebra at a time, returning to standing. Returning to our mountain pose for just a moment, sensing into the difference between the two sides of the body. Before we step that left foot across, bringing the toe mounds, pinky toes, to or toward each other, sweeping the arms up overhead, grasping now the right wrist with left hand and drawing that arm up and over, finding a nice side opening here. And let's switch the grip, grasping left wrist with right hand and opening to the other side as well. And coming back through center, gently rolling down into forward fold with this cross leg position on the second side. Breathing in, breathing out, allowing the sensations to arise and pass in your awareness on their own time. And then rolling up to stand one vertebra at a time once more. Stepping the feet next to each other. Feet can be either hip width apart or you can bring the toe mounds to touch, whatever feels comfortable for your body right now. And let's sit the hips back into chair pose, reaching the arms up and overhead. Drawing the navel into the spine, feeling into the strength of the legs here. And now bringing left hand to the outside of the right thigh and twisting open, sweeping that right arm back, looking over the right shoulder. Inhaling, coming back to the center. And exhaling, right hand to the left thigh, sweeping left arm back, looking over that left shoulder. And inhaling back through center in chair pose. Standing up, reaching arms up to the sky, looking up, cactusing the arms, opening the heart. Sweeping the arms up and bowing forward into forward fold. Inhaling to a halfway lift. Exhaling to a forward fold. And stepping back to plank. Lowering all the way down to the belly. Pressing all 10 toes into the mat. And inhaling chest up off the mat for cobra. Exhaling, releasing cobra, pressing up through plank, drawing the hips up to the sky for downward facing dog. Heels melt toward the mat. Strong arms, pressing the mat away from you. Taking a few breaths here in down dog, you might walk it out, bending the knees or drawing the heels toward the mat. And inhaling, sweeping the right foot up behind, perhaps bending the knee to find a little hip opener here. Maybe even taking a few ankle rolls before stepping that right foot forward between the hands. Getting stable in our lunge. We're up on the ball of the left foot. Feet are hip width apart. And inhaling, sweeping the arms up for crescent. And bringing left hand to the outside of the right thigh, sweeping that right arm back, turning to look over the right shoulder in this nice open twist here. And now, pivoting on that back foot, dropping the back heel to the mat, sweeping left arm up and back, sweeping right arm up and back, finding reverse warrior. Lunging into that front knee. And inhaling, let's straighten the front leg, step that left foot in about a foot, square the hips toward the front of the mat, and gently hinge at the hips, finding our way into pyramid, bringing chest toward the thigh. And now planting the left hand on the mat or tenting the fingers, let's sweep that right arm up and open for a reverse triangle. And exhaling, bringing both hands to the mat, stepping both feet back for a nice plank pose before lowering all the way to the belly. Pressing feet into the mat, inhaling, lifting chest off the mat for cobra. Exhaling, releasing this, pressing up through plank, and lifting the hips to downward facing dog. Inhaling, sweeping the left foot up, perhaps bending the left knee, opening up through the hip, giving yourself a couple of ankle circles here. Returning to three-legged dog. Stepping through to low lunge, high lunge now. Getting stable, feet are hip width apart, and inhaling, arms up overhead. Finding a crescent pose. Bringing the right hand to the outside of the left thigh, sweeping left hand back, turning to look over that shoulder. And pivoting on that back heel, dropping the heel to the mat, sweeping right arm up and back, left arm up and over, lunging into the front knee for reverse warrior. And straightening front leg, stepping back foot in about a foot, squaring hips, chest toward the front of the mat, and beginning to gently fold forward over that front leg into pyramid. Planting now the right hand on the mat and sweeping that left hand up toward the sky, finding a little opening here. And bringing both hands to the mat. Stepping the left foot back to meet the right. Dropping both knees to the mat, finding our way back to table. And standing up on the knees for a little mini mountain pose. Sweeping arms up, overhead. Reaching up, looking up. And bringing the hands to the low back or the tops of the glutes. We will do a little gentle camel pose here. So camel can look whatever way your body is calling for it to look. Perhaps your camel is to open the heart toward the sky, press those hips forward just a bit, and drop the head back, beginning to connect with this back bending sensation. And coming out, sweeping arms up, cactusing the arms, opening that heart, sweeping the arms back up to the sky. Let's take one more round of camel. So you might stay here, hands on the low back, opening that chest toward the sky, dropping the head back. Staying here is perfect. This is a wonderful camel. And if you are interested in going further, you might reach for your heels, pressing those hips forward, opening the heart toward the sky, allowing the head to fall back. And bringing hands back to the low back, drawing the spine up one vertebra at a time, bringing hands back down to the mat for table, and then walking those hands forward, keeping the hips over the knees for puppy, allowing the low back to lengthen here as the hands walk forward. And coming back through table. Let's bring the right knee behind that right wrist. The right foot comes toward the left side of the mat for pigeon. Squaring the hips. You might look behind you to just check and make sure that left leg is reaching straight behind you. You can always grab a blanket and pad underneath the hips here if you've got a little more space than you'd like. You can also take this on your back as a figure 4 if that feels more comfortable. Just taking a moment to breathe into these hips for one last big hip opener here. And removing any props that you've set up, stepping that left foot back, bringing now the left knee behind the left wrist, and the left foot toward the right side of the mat. Squaring those hips, perhaps looking behind you and just making sure that that right leg is reaching long and straight behind you on the mat. And breathing into the hips for just a moment here. And now allowing the weight to spill over onto that left hip, bringing both feet around in front of you. We will make our way onto our back for the final couple of postures, our cool down here. Drawing the knees into the chest, just rocking back and forth a couple of times. Keeping that right knee hugged in, letting the left leg reach long on the mat. And then drawing the right knee across the body toward the left, finding a gentle twist here. Right fingertips can reach away, turning to look at those right fingertips if that feels good. And inhaling, coming back to center, drawing the left knee in, reaching the right leg long, breathing in, breathing out, and then drawing the left knee across the body. Left fingertips can reach long away from you. Connecting once more with a sense of gratitude for the sweet body that has carried you through this practice, that carries you through every day. over the spine, holds you up no matter what. And coming back to center here, perhaps giving yourself a little roll back and forth. Let's bring the right ankle on top of the left knee, drawing that knee in toward the chest, breathing into that outer hip. One last hip opener here. And releasing that, dropping both feet to the mat, bringing left foot on top of the right knee, and drawing that shape in toward your chest as well. Breathing into the hip here. And releasing that shape, drawing the knees into the chest, taking any last movements that might feel good for your body. If you would like to reach between the knees and find a happy baby pose, if you would like to give yourself a bridge or any other posture that would feel good for you in this moment, please take this time. And then once more, just hugging the knees into the chest before releasing the body onto the mat, stretching feet long, hands long, finding your way into Savasana, our final resting posture, softening the brow, softening the jaw, softening the heart and the belly and the back, connecting with that sense of gratitude, perhaps even a sense of awe for everything your body has allowed you to do today, allows you to do every day. The sweet body that supports us through every moment of our lives, imperfectly as it may be. Thank you, body. I love you. Melting a bit into the mat with each exhale. Allowing all the work you've done to integrate into the nervous system. And then gently beginning to wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes, perhaps stretch the arms and legs long on the mat. Rolling to your favorite side. Pausing here for just a moment, savoring the transition, this liminal space, before pressing up to return to a seated posture. Drawing the spine up long, bringing hands to meet at the heart, offering yourself, your body, a deep prayer of gratitude. Thank you, body, for supporting me in this practice. Thank you, mind, keeping me steady and strong. And for the rest of today, may my words bring only love and peace to all I encounter. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you again next month.